I'm shaking my head. What's up, y'all? It's your girl, Jamie's Backwards. One woman's reality is the platform. Journey free of strife is the mission. I'm shaking my head because I had to do this video over. I already had like 5 minutes in, and then somebody knocked on my door. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't know how to edit. I want my videos to be straight up and raw, but I want them to make sense. And I didn't remember where I left off at for for whatever reason. But anyway, back to where I was at, part two of how did I know that thing was called a narcissist? How I found out, right? So now, I think what I was saying was that when I started talking to the guy from the one that was 4 years younger than me, him and the guy that I was originally talking to had mutual friends in common. So my dude, the one that we gonna give him a name. We gonna call him Kingpin for whatever reason. So Kingpin is the dude that I just was living on the edge with, having fun with. We gonna call him Kingpin. Kingpin had a couple of other women that he was tricking off on, or whatever the case may be. Him and old boy had mutual friends together. So now I don't know if they both was running their mouths or what, but they was like with the mutual friends comparing notes. So yeah, they both messing with me. It is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Like, it is what it is. Like, I'm single. I can do what I want. I don't belong to nobody. So eventually I cut it off with Kingpin, and me and old boy continued on in our little thing. Now, mind you, I used to feed off attention from other men. I really, really did. I truly did. I'm not even gonna lie. I had men in my inbox flirting with me, on my posts flirting with me. Me and old boy became friends on Facebook. He only lasted on my Facebook about 2 or 3 years, and I had to get rid of him because he was very, very jealous and very toxic. He would jump on my posts, curse people out, but he pick and choose who he wanted to verbally attack on my behalf or over me. So he picked and choose who he wanted to confront. But like I said, the situation was so toxic over the years. Now I'm pregnant. We talked about keeping it and everything. I talked about going to, how was it going to be with having a new baby. So he promised that he would go to the doctor's appointments with me and just be there for me the way he's supposed to. Now, in the midst of that, within those 2 years, it was just like so much shit where I should have just walked away. But hey, now I'm pregnant. I want to be a woman of my word, because if I don't, this man is going to hold that against me for the rest of my life and try to make it seem like that's why he killed himself. I'm not saying he was suicidal, but he reminded me of one of those people that would be like, if you don't be with me, I'm going to kill myself. He never said that, but I was always afraid that that's where it would end up, because he just acted like that I was his whole world in my face, but behind my back, I was an ain't shit bitch. And when I got pregnant and I got further along in my shit, he showed me the person that he really, really, truly was. One that didn't give a fuck about me. I think he went to one doctor's appointment with me, but at this point he working, so okay. And he went to one doctor's appointment with me, and during labor, I was by myself. He was in the room, but he was asleep the whole time. And it was like so embarrassing that the nurses would come in there, and one nurse would just shake her head because she felt so bad for me, because she like, Dad, you going through this. They kept asking me if I wanted the epidural. Mind you, this is my third time giving birth. The first 2 times I didn't have to have an epidural because I had support. And once a woman has support and she know that I could curse him out because it's his fault, like, y'all know what I'm saying? It's his fault that I'm in this situation. I'm going to curse him out because he ain't going through this pain. I'm going through that pain. So the first 2 times I had that support. I had that person holding my hand, rubbing my back, giving me ice chips, letting me curse them out, and just letting me know that everything was going to be all right. The third time I was on my own. I was by myself. He was asleep the whole time. So when they kept coming in there asking me, like, Miss Johnson, you in pain? Like, why is he asleep? I said, I don't know. I don't know what to say. I don't know. oh my God, they said, well, I see why you, so I was like, you know what, give me the epidural since I'm doing this by myself. They said, well, Miss Johnson, wake him up because he should, know this part of the procedure. He should be able to know this is why I'm comfortable. So they woke him up so he could hold my hand, keep me calm while keep my back straight and shit like that while they stuck the needle in my back. Got the epidural, I was fine. After I had the baby and the baby was circumcised, they gave the baby the hearing test and this and that. He left the hospital. So I was there like all night. Like he could have stayed. He chose not to. He wanted to go home and get in the bed. So both nights I was in the hospital by myself when I didn't have to be. Because the hospital I was in, they made room for Dad too. But he chose not to be there. He went out and celebrated and had cigars like he was Father of the Year. He came from a good neighborhood, but I wouldn't say he came from the best family. I respected as far as I could his family, but it was like me against them a lot. Now I wouldn't say a lot of the times, but some of the times they was on my side, or so they portrayed to be, so I wouldn't leave. But for the most part, it was me against them. I remember before I got pregnant, I was on my way out the door, and now that I think about it, it was all a plan, a whole freaking setup. And I had like a little cell phone, and I was working this part-time job in another city where I had to take the train, or I could have took the bus to get to this other job. And after like 4 days of not speaking to him, I was like, I'm going around here to get my stuff. This is before the key and everything. I said, I'm going around here to get my stuff because he hasn't been speaking to me like I did something to him. So I hit him up and I was like, hey, I'm at your place. I came to get my stuff. Could you give me my stuff? So he called me. He was like, oh my God, it's crazy that you at my house. I was just at your job trying to find you. He said, and I showed up at your job. My job worked at an arena, a sports arena. So he wouldn't know where to find me. I could be all over that big ass building. But he said he went there, and I believed him at the time, but it took me some years to realize that I think he played me. But he was like, yeah, I went over there looking for you, and they said that you wasn't here. So I'm like, what? So I'm like, all right. So he was like, give me some time. I'll be there. Just wait for me, please, please. This was on a weekend, and at the time, my girls was with their father, so I was free. I had my cell phone, and I was only 2 blocks away, so I was like, why not? So I sat there, listened to my iPod, and I waited for him for about 30 minutes on his porch. And I told him why I was at his house to collect my stuff. He comes walking down the block with a vase full of flowers with water in it. So it was like a vase, and then it had like 12 roses in the vase with water. So I'm like, I do not believe, because he didn't have a car, like I said. So I said, I don't believe that this guy traveled on a train, walked back with a dozen of roses in a vase with water. But then I believed it then. So he was like, I know you're here to break up with me, and I'm so sorry. I don't remember what he did, but he's like, I'm so sorry. He said, but accept these roses and accept my apology. I want to be with you. I was in love with you since I first met you 7 years ago. And I'm in love with you still. Please don't leave me. Please take me back. So I'm like, I can't do this. I said, you too toxic. I said, you disrespectful. You just a little kid. And it's just not, like, it's just biting my, like, it's cramping my style to keep being involved with somebody that don't have respect for me. So he begging and begging, begging, cars going by. He on his knees with his arms wrapped around my legs, begging me. People going by and they cars looking, and I'm like, you're embarrassing me. So I could see him looking past me, right? And I realized that his mother was in the window on her knees looking at us out the window. So when she noticed me, because she was sitting there for a while, when she noticed me, she said, such and such, I know you ain't out there graveling. I know you're not begging the girl. If she want to leave you, let her leave you. And he was like, no, ma, no. So at this point, I'm super embarrassed. Like, I'm like, oh my God. I goes in his place in the basement and we talk it out. Long story short, we made up. And that's why we're here now. So like I told y'all in my other video, he went to my house. I think I told y'all in the other video. I hope it wasn't the video I just deleted. But he popped up at my door to introduce himself to my mom at the time. With his mother, he didn't formally introduce me to his mother. What happened was he kept telling me that my mother wanted to meet you. And I was like, for what? Like, I'm not ready to meet parents. Like, I got to see what I want to do before I even allow myself to do that. So he like, oh, why not? So he goes to the store, right? And we was listening to music. So he went to the store. Mind you, when I first met him, I'm wearing wigs. I didn't lie to him and tell him it was my hair. He knew it was a wig. It was like one of them fucking dollars, one of them hair store wigs. Like, that's how we did it in 2009. So at this point, I could see somebody moving around in the backyard, walking to his part of his downstairs to his basement. I'm like, no, back up. When you coming from the top part of the house into the backyard, his is the basement level, but the ground level is leveled with the window. So I'm down here, but I could see somebody up there in the window looking in. So I'm acting like I'm invisible when I'm sitting there because I'm like, I'm not trying to meet nobody's mother. Like, that's not what I do. I don't know if this is a situation I'm passing through or passing by. And I'm not trying to meet people's family. I just came here for a peace of mind and then get away from what I got going on around the corner. So his mother knocks on the door and was like, open the door. So she asked me where Whoop-de-Whoop was. And I'm like, he was at the store. And she was like, oh, how you doing? My name is, y'all heard her name in the last video. And I was like, oh, how you doing? So he was like, oh, I've been wanting to meet you. And I was like, yeah, I haven't been wanting to meet nobody because I'm still trying to figure out what this is. So she was like, oh, okay, well, let him know that I came down and for him to come up when he comes back. So I'm like, all right. So now to this day, now I feel like that was a setup. That was like somebody forcing themselves on me. And I just didn't appreciate that after I look back. I think I was very gullible and naive and very codependent, and I just was like taking whatever was coming my way. So back to me being in labor by myself. And I'm just telling you how I got to the point where I realized what that N word really, really was, or what the name of it was at all. Now the baby here. I didn't get no help. Everything we had from the baby was stuff that I got as I'm pregnant, stuff that I got as I'm pregnant. As I don't even think he started working until after. And then it was like a part-time job, like gig job. I don't know. He barely was working. So a lot of what my child had was stuff that came from the baby shower. His mother bought the crib. I forgot where I got the stroller from, but it was like, okay. Like I said, I'm living there. At this point, my daughter's sharing his old bed in the bedroom, and that's where all our stuff is. And he got his clothes in the hallway closet. Like, he really did take us in, because it was a situation at my mother's house that I could have dealt with, but I just decided not to because I had another option that was better. And at this point, I think I loved him. So we was living there. It was toxic. My kids done seen us cursing each other out. They done heard me say some stuff they never heard me say before. All of this while I'm defending myself. And it was just like so much. I think 2 months after I gave birth, I got paperwork in the mail at my mother's house saying that I was up on the list for Section 8. Subsidized housing, if you don't know what that is. And I said, oh, great, I'm going to take it. I started looking for apartments. I was very, very excited. And he didn't help me look for apartments, but he just assumed that I was going to take him with me. It was just so toxic. And I was like, you know what? I know you took me and my daughters in because not that I needed somewhere to go, but because we was trying to have a relationship. So I took him and he took me and my daughters, moved in with him. But I wasn't setting a good example for them. And that was just God. It wasn't like I did anything drastic. It was just God that was, had my name come up on the list. So I thought about it long and hard. And then it was like the final straw. And I was like, you know what? You can't go. You stay here. Let's continue to build our relationship. You can come over whenever you want. But I want to do this with me and my daughters and my son. With just us. Because it's been toxic for the past couple of months, past year. And they seen enough, and I just need a peace of mind. So mind you, the 2 months prior when I had the baby, I couldn't hang out. I was like, amongst one of the popular groups in my hood. So we would party. And a lot of people knew us. So I knew a lot of guys, a lot of people, period. And when we would go out, I would get greeted by people I knew from the streets, from school, from works, whatever. And he always would get jealous, like, oh, you know so many niggas. Oh, da-da-da-da. And he always said something after the fact, like, why they want to hug you, this and that. I was like, why you ain't never say that in front of them? Like, don't hug her, or whatever the case may be. Like, why you always get tough with me later on? Like, you're trying to turn it into something that it's not. So, that year, because I had my baby in the beginning of the year. So that year, within those 3 months, it was so toxic, it's not even funny. So now he know I'm leaving, right? And I guess in his mind, he's panicking like, oh, he didn't take it as, oh, she got an opportunity to better her life by getting her own apartment. He took it as, oh, she's taking my child and leaving. She's giving up on me and us. So he would rather I had stayed in the basement of his mother's house than to have my own apartment. So all hell broke loose after that. I mean, like during that. Like before that, he had went in my phone and took my best friend's phone number out. He started getting in contact with her, texting her, telling her how I broke his heart, how I was messing around with other boys, and how other men was hitting me up in my inbox flirting with me, and I wasn't shutting them down. Because I'm like, wait a minute. You got to have respect to get respect. And I just really didn't have respect. I was in a relationship with somebody I did not respect. And that's where I played myself at. Word is born. That's where I played myself at. And I think I beat myself up for a long time. Like, how did I get myself into this situation? That's because this man dangled his keys in front of the face of a girl who lived with her mother. And I thought that was better than living with my mother. So I put myself in that situation. And instead of going back, I stayed. I stayed for the year, whatever the case may be, with my daughters. And it was toxic. After I gave birth to the baby, he bought me some push gifts. That's when push gifts was popular. I don't know if people still do that to this day, but he bought me some push gifts. We was young, you know what I'm saying? It wasn't like I got a call. Like he wasn't rich. He bought me a big bottle of Ciroc that came out. I think it was peach that dropped that year. So I had a big bottle of Ciroc. I think he bought me a pair of designer shades, because I've always been into the designer shades, and something else, one other thing. And That was the first time he ever stayed with my child by himself. I wasn't home. Because now you turned up right after I had the baby, so it's my turn. I want to turn up. I want to go out and hang out with my girlfriends. They came and picked me up. We hung out. And he calling me. Like, when you coming back? They waiting for me. My friends waiting for me. I was like, wait a minute. I haven't been outside in months. Like, tell your friends you'll catch up with them another time. No, we had plans. And you better come home now. And he said, yeah, they calling me, clowning me, talking about you daddy daycare and this and that. And I'm like, daddy daycare? This is your child. Like, am I supposed to stay home with the child all the time? And I'm like, you know what? When I got back, he opened the bottle of Ciroc right in front of me, guzzled it down to take a drink, poured the rest outside the apartment on the floor, stomped the shades he bought me, and whatever else it was, I can't remember what the other item was, but he probably 9 times out of 10 he ruined that too. Yo, this is crazy. Like, yeah, like it's so much shit that went on through the years. Like, I moved in, I ain't had no furniture. I started off with a blow up mattress, and we was living, me and my kids. Like I said, it was only like 2 or 3 months my child slept in his crib, and I was like, hey, I'm moving. You think I could take the crib to my place? He's like, hell no, my mother bought that crib for me, and it's gonna stay right here. And I was like, oh, but I don't have nowhere for the baby to sleep. That's not my problem. So I had a pack and play, and the baby slept in the pack and play. Then eventually the baby got in my bed, and eventually we bought the baby a toddler bed, and that was that. I dealt with this man calling me on the phone, pretending to be by himself, getting me to answer embarrassing questions, clowning me. They were supposed to be sitting quiet, but somebody will always bust out laughing because they wanted me to know, ha, 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 we laughing at you. Ha, 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 we heard what you said. Ha, 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 ha. So I started going in. I started saying, what the hell, y'all niggas gay? I started suspecting that his friends was on the down low. Him and his friends, because they was just acting too much like females, like sitting there listening to me being in pain, sitting there listening to us argue, sitting there asking him, listening to me asking him, why did you lie? You said you was going to do this. Sitting there listening to me being vulnerable. He was just playing me out. He would know I would come to his house and be in there. I ain't letting you in. But his friends in there sitting quiet like they not in there like little cats and mouse. I said, y'all niggas gay. I used to really say that they was gay. I used to go in. Because once I felt disrespected, I got disrespectful. Every single time. Every single time. He would come to my house, bang on my door, kick my door. It was times where I just was like, I'm done with you. He wouldn't talk to me. I wouldn't talk to him. And every time he went away, I loved it. He put me on silent treatment heavy a lot of the times. And then, like I said, it started affecting me. And it was after this one specific time I had started doing better. I got my career job. I had a nice car. And it was like when he was up, he treated me like shit. When he was down, he treated me like shit. If I was up, he treated me even more like shit. Like he was jealous. Like he just could not figure out, like, what the fuck. Like he was jealous of everything. Like it was like a secret competition. So when I was up and he was down, not trying to do nothing for himself, every time I got paid, he needed $40. Remember that $40 joke? He needed $40 every single time. Every single time I got paid. To the point where I started saying no. Like, I'm not giving you $40. I'm taking care of 3 kids. All that stuff I did for you. But that's not now, though. All you do now is just cause me drama. And in the place I lived at was a very nice apartment. I lived upstairs, and the lady that lived downstairs with her daughter was just like a house full of women. The lady downstairs on the first floor had a teenage daughter, and I'm on the top floor with my 2 daughters and my baby. So it wasn't no men around. And then everybody on my street was old people. And then you had some kids over here that sell drugs, but they was like younger than me, like young teenagers. And all they was worried about was getting their money. So the first time he got away with kicking my door in front of them and banging on my door and disrespecting me, the guys in the neighborhood didn't say nothing, so he felt like he could get away with it. Even one time sent his brother around my house, and to this day they don't know what I know that they did that. Sent his brother to my house to kick on my door, because they wanted to control me. How I got wind of the word narcissist, I'm gonna tell y'all again because my phone about to die again. So I'm gonna tell y'all real quick. One day I got tired of being in the bed, not eating, not combing my hair, not brushing my teeth, not showering. And I wanted to know what the fuck was this I was going through. I said, this is beyond depression. What am I going through? I asked a specific question about the time what I was feeling at that specific moment. And all this information started popping up about narcissistic abuse. I was in heaven, days on end, reading about narcissists, learning, educating myself. I didn't walk away right then and there because I was still weak. It takes a long time for somebody to get over narcissistic abuse. And I was just so totally weak and drained and bitter and angry and mad, and still defending myself and still going back and forth and still doing tit for tat. And I was like, that's not me. This is changing who I am inside. And now I got to change what the fuck is going on before I'm changed forever. So like I said, when I got educated and I'm reading through stuff. And he actually told me out his own mouth one time that, oh, yeah, you think you the shit, right? He said, I know what I'm going to do to you. I'm going to fuck with your mental. I'm going to prey on your mental. Watch. I'm going to tear you the fuck down. I'm going to make you crazy. He did not lie. He really, really set out to do that shit. He set out to do that. He played me. He set me on fires. He set traps. He tried to tell people lies about me. It was times where he went back. Well, I seen him do it one time. I don't know if he did it before, but in front of me, he tried to tell my friend, yeah, she be talking about, oh, y'all, this and that. That wasn't true. He tried to make her mad at me because he pushed me down in front of her and she jumped out her car to try to defend me. Like, why would you put your hands on her? Like, you way bigger than her. Why would you touch her? And he pushed me down. To this day, my wrist fucked up. And, I went around there to tell my mother, like, oh, he just be doing too much. And she came back around there and she got in his face. And now that I think back about it, I'm glad that he didn't disrespect my mother. I'm glad he respected her, but I could have got her hurt with her trying to defend me. But that comeback would have been real because he knew I had a lot of family. I'm not the type to go run and get my family and do this and do that. I had family members that offered to stand on the corner and beat his ass when he got from work. But I stopped all of that because it's just not worth it. I want to get stronger to leave this nigga alone. So like I said, I asked Google a question and Google put me up on that narcissistic abuse shit. And I got hooked on reading and educating myself. And I realized that it didn't start here. I've been in narcissistically abusive relationships, situations with friends, co-workers, family, all the time. So where it begins is that it begins as a child. When you don't get the emotional things that you need from home, you're going to look for it out in the streets. And you're going to think that when somebody putting you down that you deserve it because you was emotionally withheld from love growing up. I'm not going to get into that right now, but I will. So like I said, if you want to hear more, like, comment, and subscribe. Because I'm not home right now by myself. So I think I kind of left out a little bit more. I could have said a little bit more in this video. But if there's anything that I didn't talk about that you want to hear or anything that I need to speak about further, let's talk about it. Hit me up in the comments. It's your girl, Jamie's Backwards. I love you, J Bays. Have a good day.